says this program, this mission in Somalia, is not sustainable. It's just becoming more and more expensive every single year. And the EU says it's already spending a good chunk of money to support this mission. Back since 2007, more than €1 billion from the EU have been poured into this mission. And the EU says that it's not really that concerned that this mission will fall apart because of the lack of funding. It believes the mission will be able to stay in attack. And at the end of the day, the EU says there's only so much money to go around. It's also trying to support the fight against Boko Haram in West Africa. And the EU also says that it has to make sure that it can keep a pool of money together to be able to fund and to be able to help out for any other crisis that may suddenly erupt on the continent.
All right, Abdulaziz, this is, of course, going to be a major source of concern for the Somali government. Has the Somali government responded to that pronouncement by European Union officials cutting AMISOM funds?
Well, Beatrice, the authorities here in Somalia have not yet issued official comment on the recent comment by the EU. So what experts here are actually saying is that Somalia, during the African Union Heads of State Summit that took place in Ethiopia, Somalia met with the African Union officials and AMISOM officials, and they talked about the need to restart the offensive against the Al-Shabaab. So basically, Somalia feels at this stage it needs to be to have the upper hand in the fight against the Al-Shabaab. Now, technically, the situation on the ground is different. It's AMISOM forces and the Somali government forces that have pulled out of a string of towns in southern Somalia due to the Al-Shabaab attacks on Somali military bases and African Union bases. So definitely that has been an issue here for authorities. And what Somali authorities are also saying is that since the country is headed towards elections, it needs to have the upper hand in the fight against the Al-Shabaab so that the militant group will not have the capability to mobilize itself and launch deadly attacks on the Somali government bases. So what experts here are saying is that during the meeting that will take place in Istanbul later this week, Somali authorities need to present to the European Union and the UN the need to fund the AMISOM forces and Somali government to be able to better fight and control Somalia from the militants.
Well, Kevin, as you mentioned there earlier, the European Union has been rather stretched financially. But has the European Union given alternative ways in which terrorism can be defeated with reduced funds?
Well, the EU says from this point going forward that it will help the African Union try to find other sources of funding for this mission in Somalia. So it will still be giving a lot of attention to Somalia, and also it really is heavily invested in this project. So the last thing it wants to see after investing more than €1 billion in this project is to see it fail and wither away. So the EU is giving its commitment, its promise to the AU that it will help find other sources of income, other sources of money to keep this program afloat and to make sure that this program is successful in defeating Al-Shabaab.
Right, Kevin Ozebek in Brussels and Abdulaziz Bello joining us there from Mogadishu. To you both.